Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with our resident expert to unpack something that's honestly pretty wild about modern life.
Yeah, it's a topic that really hits close to home for, well, basically everyone. Glad to be here diving into it with you.
Awesome. So, I was thinking about this the other day. It is entirely possible, and honestly, incredibly common, to go through an entire modern day without speaking a single word to another human being.
Oh, easily. I mean, people do it all the time.
Right, like picture this. Your alarm goes off, you reach for your phone, and you order your morning coffee on an app.
So you don't have to wait in line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You walk into the cafe, you grab your cup off that little designated mobile order counter, and you walk right out. You don't even make eye contact with the barista.
What?
Then you sit at your desk and work an 8-hour day entirely on Slack, email, maybe a shared Google Doc, completely silently.
Yeah, it's the ultimate modern workflow.
It really is. And it doesn't stop there. On the way home, you stop at the grocery store, you scan your own items at the self-checkout, and leave.
Or you just order dinner on a delivery app.
Oh, right.
You track the driver's little car icon on the map.
Yes. And you just wait for the food to be left silently at your front door.
Yeah.
Like, you have achieved maximum daily efficiency. You have completely conquered the logistics of modern life.
You've won the game.
You've won.
Yeah.
And yet it leads to this massive punchline that kind of defines our current culture. As a society, we desperately crave connection, but we will do absolutely anything to avoid making a phone call or, talking to a stranger.
Yeah, we treat friction like those little interactions with the barista or the coworker, the cashier. We treat those as bugs in the system of our lives. And we have spent the last 2 decades building technology specifically designed to squash those bugs. But the psychological data we're looking at today suggests those bugs might have actually been features.
Right. We built the most interconnected society in human history, but we are experiencing unprecedented levels of isolation.
The ultimate paradox.
Which is exactly what we're getting into today. So for you listening, we're exploring how we accidentally optimized away our own communities and why the daily inconveniences we work so hard to eliminate might have been the exact things we needed to feel human.
Yeah, we've got a great stack of sources for this too.
We really do. We're pulling from a peer-reviewed psychological framework on AI and human connection, a couple of brilliant essays on the death of serendipity and workplace digital fatigue, plus some classic psychological theories from Eric Fromm, Irving Goffman, and Robert Zajonc.
A heavy lineup, but it's going to make so much sense.
It will, and I think the best place to start is actually with how we look for information, because there's a fascinating through line between how we search for answers and how we search for connection.
Right. And there's this brilliant concept from one of our sources by Saurabh Bhujanwal. He calls this the death of serendipity.
The death of serendipity, I like that.
It's so accurate. If you think back to the early internet or, even just the early Google era, finding information was a messy, anarchic exploration. It was highly inefficient.
Oh, totally. You'd type in a query for a recipe or a historical fact, and you wouldn't just get an answer. You got a mosaic.
Exactly. And you had to sift through it. You'd click a link, read a forum thread from 2005 where 3 people were arguing about the topic.
Right. Always arguing.
Always. And then you stumble onto some passionate amateur's blog, and suddenly you're completely sidetracked reading about the history of cast iron pans or something.
Yeah, but that process forced you to evaluate biases, right? You had to synthesize contradictory information, and most importantly, stumble upon things you didn't even know you were looking for.
Yeah, Eugene Wall calls this the hidden curriculum of wandering.
It's like taking a road trip. Like, if you take the back roads, you might get lost. You might have to pull over and ask a weird local for directions, maybe get a flat tire. But you actually experience the landscape.
You're in it.
Right. But what we have now with large language models and AI is essentially a teleportation device. You ask a question, and it doesn't give you links or perspectives. It just gives you the answer.
Yeah, you get to the destination instantly, but you lose the entire journey. When AI provides a totally frictionless delivery, it narrows the scope of learning. The output arrives pre-digested, perfectly pruned of anything extraneous, and it sounds incredibly authoritative. But because there's no friction, our critical muscles, like our ability to triangulate the truth for ourselves, they begin to atrophy.
Because we don't have to work for the knowledge anymore, so it doesn't stick in the same way.
Exactly. And this frictionless existence bleeds directly into how we interact online. Dennis Osipov wrote this piece on the dead internet that connects perfectly here.
Oh, the dead internet theory, yeah.
Yeah, we are constantly interacting with algorithms and bots that create personalized filter bubbles. They don't want you to wander.
Mm.
They want to feed you only what elicits a very specific emotional response to keep your attention on the screen.
Because corporations figured out that a lonely consumer will pay with their attention to fill that void. Like if you're bored or feeling isolated, scrolling through a hyper-personalized feed feels like a cure, but it's really just a temporary patch.
Which leads to a very specific kind of modern exhaustion called digital fatigue. And it isn't physical exhaustion. It is an emotional depletion.
Just feeling totally drained.
Right. When you consume a massive excess of superficial information without any genuine challenging communication, your brain gets tired. You're swimming in an ocean of digital noise, but you feel entirely alone because the friction, the push and pull of real human connection has been optimized out.
It really is the height of absurdity. Like, we optimized every tiny inconvenience out of our personal lives only to end up feeling like stranded islands floating in a sea of algorithms.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting to me. This obsession with frictionless efficiency doesn't stop at our personal screens or, how we order coffee. It has completely rewired how we make a living.
Oh, absolutely. The workplace is arguably where this optimization is having the most profound yet completely invisible impact. There's a report from Wilson Learning that paints a very stark picture of modern corporate life.
What's the data show?
Well, on the surface, digital efficiency makes workplace dashboards look fantastic. Deadlines are met, productivity is surging, Slack messages are instantly replied to, all the metrics are glowing green.
Everything looks perfect.
Right. But underneath that data-driven sheen, employees are reporting that work feels thinner.
Thinner. What does a thinner workday actually look like?
It means that employees are producing more output, but feeling less connected to the outcome. And a major driver of this is something researchers call shadow productivity.
Shadow productivity. Okay, what is that?
These are the invisible off-hour AI shortcuts, personal automations, and workarounds that employees secretly use just to keep their heads above water.
Oh, like someone using ChatGPT at 9 p.m. to draft all their emails for the next morning. Or setting up automated Slack responses so they appear online when they're desperately trying to actually finish a project.
Exactly that. The output looks incredible to leadership. The manager sees a perfectly optimized workflow, but the human effort, the anxiety, and the exhaustion required to maintain that illusion are completely hidden.
That actually reminds me of Irving Goffman's theory of impression management from our source.
Right.
Yeah, he had this idea that social interaction is essentially a theatrical play. We have a front stage persona that we show the audience, the polished professional version of ourselves, and then we have the backstage where we hide the messy reality.
That is a perfect parallel.
It sounds like workers are using these digital tools to construct this flawless, highly efficient front stage performance for their boss, while desperately hiding the burnt-out backstage reality of what it actually takes to survive the modern workday.
That is a fascinating way to apply Goffman's theory. Employees are absolutely using shadow productivity to maintain that flawless front stage, but Goffman warned that maintaining a vast distance between the front stage and the backstage creates massive psychological strain.
So what happens at work?
In the workplace, this manifests as a massive trust deficit. Leaders are tracking data and output, but they are completely blind to the human emotion and the burnout. The spreadsheet basically overshadows the dialogue.
So the boss thinks everything is great because the metrics say so, but the employee feels completely unseen. You're just a green check mark on a task manager.
And that creates what the Wilson Learning Report calls an emotional overdraft.
An emotional overdraft. I like that term.
Yeah, because traditional burnout is usually about the sheer volume of work. You're just physically exhausted by the hours. Emotional overdraft is different. It's a quiet, creeping fatigue. People are depleted by the disconnection itself. When every message is just a transactional Slack ping, the emotional richness of work fades away. You lose the sense of belonging, the small talk before a meeting starts, the shared meaning. You become a cog in a system rather than a contributor to a shared purpose.
So we have frictionless answers that kill serendipity and frictionless work that kills shared meaning. If our workplaces and our internet are draining us of genuine human contact, where are people turning for emotional support?
This is the crazy part.
Right. This is the wildest part of the whole dynamic to me. We are turning to the very technology that isolated us in the first place.
Yeah. And this is where we need to look at the MIRA model, Machine Integrated Relational Adaptation.
Say that one more time.
Machine Integrated Relational Adaptation. It's a framework designed to understand how AI is stepping into our social ecosystems, not just as a tool, but as an active participant.
Okay, an active participant.
Yeah, MIRA identifies two crucial roles AI is now playing. First is the relational partner, which is a direct companion like a therapeutic chatbot or an AI friend.
Right.
Second is the relational mediator, which is AI silently operating behind the scenes. Think of a tool rewriting your emotionally charged text messages to sound more diplomatic before you send them to your partner or your boss.
It's getting to the point where some people honestly know the personality of their AI chatbot better than they know their next-door neighbor. But I have to stop and ask about the biology here.
Yeah, let's get into it.
How is a chatbot actually tricking our brains? Like, if I know that AI is just a bunch of code, a server sitting in a data center somewhere with absolutely no real skin in the game, how does it bypass my logic and make me feel genuinely connected?
To understand the mechanics of that trick, we have to look through the lens of social exchange theory. This theory argues that all human relationships are built on a subconscious cost-benefit analysis.
Okay.
Real human relationships have incredibly high costs. They require emotional labor, time, compromise, and they carry the constant looming risk of conflict or rejection.
Because humans are messy. Like, we get tired, we snap at each other, we say the wrong thing, we forget important dates.
Exactly. But AI is entirely costless. It is unconditionally available 204/7. It demands zero emotional labor from you, and it perfectly adapts to your preferences. The barrier to entry is zero.
Wow.
But the way it actually tricks your neurological hardware into feeling a bond comes down to two specific psychological mechanisms: linguistic reciprocity and psychological proximity.
Okay, what does linguistic reciprocity actually look like in practice? Is it just mimicking my vocabulary?
It goes much deeper than vocabulary. Linguistic reciprocity is subconscious mirroring. In human conversation, we naturally align our language to show understanding. We match the pace, the tone, and even the use of subtle function words like pronouns, words like I, we, but, however.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and AI is programmed to do this algorithmically. If you type short, punchy sentences with lots of exclamation points and I statements, the AI instantly adapts to mirror that exact cadence. It creates the illusion of joint action, the feeling that you are co-constructing a meaningful dialogue.
So even though my logical brain knows it's a machine, my primitive brain registers that perfectly matched cadence and interprets it as empathy. It feels like the machine is leaning in and actively listening.
Precisely. And that leads directly to the second mechanism, psychological proximity. Because the AI remembers your past inputs, like it remembers your dog's name, it remembers you were stressed about a meeting last Tuesday, it tailors its responses to your current mood.
Right.
It creates a deep, immediate sense of being known.
I can see how that would be incredibly alluring, especially if you're already exhausted from that emotional overdraft at work.
It is particularly powerful for people with what psychologists call an anxious attachment style.
Oh, yeah.
These are individuals who constantly worry about abandonment or inconsistent affection from their peers. For them, the AI serves as a perfectly predictable, secure base. It never gets mad, it never gets tired of listening to your problems, and it never threatens to leave.
That is deeply fascinating and honestly a little terrifying. We are essentially hacking our own attachment systems with algorithms.
We really are.
So if we pull back and look at the whole board here, we have built a daily routine of frictionless answers, frictionless work, and frictionless, costless relationships. What is this total lack of resistance actually doing to the human psyche on a fundamental biological level?
Well, to answer that, we can look to the philosophy of Erich Fromm. Fromm posited that the inherent human condition is a constant, unavoidable struggle. We are torn between two competing realities: our existence as separate, isolated individuals and our deep biological need for connection with others.
So we are essentially trapped between wanting to be our own independent, autonomous person and being terrified of being left alone.
Exactly. Fromm argued that our intellect and our reason are what make us painfully aware of our isolation. We realize our separateness in a way other animals just don't.
Right.
And what modern digital efficiency has done is essentially weaponize this intellect. By optimizing everything for independence, speed, and efficiency, we have heightened our separation from nature and from each other. We've built a physical world that caters perfectly to our desire for individual convenience, but it completely starves our biological need for united connection.
It's like we built the perfect cage for ourselves and we furnished it with all the conveniences we could ever want. And the more we stay in the cage ordering delivery and talking to chatbots, the harder it becomes to actually leave.
That brings in another crucial psychological mechanism: Robert Zajonk's mere exposure effect.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Yes, Jean proves that familiarity breeds trust and affection. This is rooted in evolutionary survival.
Mm,
If a caveman sees the same berry bush every day and nothing attacks him, his brain wires that bush as safe.
makes sense.
If he sees an unfamiliar animal, his brain flags it as a threat. We like things simply because we are exposed to them frequently.
So if we are constantly exposed to screens and perfectly agreeable AI interfaces and, frictionless digital transactions, our baseline for what feels safe shifts away from other humans.
Yes, if you spend 8 hours a day interacting with predictable code, human interaction begins to feel unpredictable, exhausting, and novel in a bad way. A human being becomes the unfamiliar predator in the caveman analogy.
Wow.
The friction of real life, an awkward silence, a disagreement, an unpredictable reaction, it becomes something to be avoided rather than experienced.
But wait, I have to push back on this trajectory. If we are biologically hardwired to need each other, like Fromm says, there is no way we just accept this artificial perfection forever, right? I mean, humans are chaotic. We have to hit a breaking point. Isn't there going to be a massive rubber band effect, like a societal backlash against all this frictionless living?
The evidence suggests that you are exactly right, and we are already seeing the beginnings of that rubber band effect.
Really?
Yeah, Dennis Osipov draws on the philosopher Martin Heidegger's concept of authentic being. Heidegger basically argued that to live authentically is to embrace the messy reality of existence rather than retreating into comfortable illusions.
Mm.
In a world where everything is becoming artificial, synthesized, and algorithmically generated, there is a sudden massive premium on things that are unmistakably human.
Oh, which totally explains the vinyl record revival or the massive surge in live concert attendance over the last few years. Like, people want to be in a crowded room sweating with other people.
Or even the explosion of long-form podcasts, right? Where people just want to hear a raw, unedited conversation between two humans stumbling through ideas.
Right.
The dead internet and the rise of perfect AI are actually driving a massive demand for authenticity. We are beginning to realize that the flaws, the friction, and the unpredictability of human interaction aren't bugs to be fixed. They are the very things that make the interaction valuable.
Because an AI can write a technically perfect poem in 2 seconds, but it means absolutely nothing to the reader because it costs the machine nothing to create. We crave the evidence of human struggle. We want to know another person wrestled with the words.
Exactly. When everything is frictionless, friction becomes a luxury good. We want the evidence of human effort.
So what does this all mean for us today? Let's synthesize this journey. We started by looking at how the pursuit of pure efficiency stripped away the serendipity of discovery trading, the joy of the weird internet rabbit hole, for the sterile delivery of an algorithmic answer.
Yeah.
We saw how that same drive for efficiency turned our careers into transactional shadow games, where we exhaust ourselves trying to look like perfect, highly optimized machines on a corporate dashboard. And we explored how, in our exhaustion, we are turning to AI companions that mimic empathy through linguistic mirroring, giving us the illusion of connection without demanding any of the messy emotional labor of a real relationship.
It's a profound shift in the human experience. We've traded community for convenience at almost every level of daily life, and our biology is just struggling to keep up with the trade-off.
Which brings us to you, listening right now. We want you to reflect on your own habits. Where in your day have you traded a moment of real community for a moment of convenience? When you have a problem, are you using technology to reach out and bridge a gap with a friend? Or are you using it to isolate yourself from the messy, unpredictable reality of other people?
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly unsettling concept drawn from that MRA model we discussed.
Okay.
We talked about AI acting as a relational mediator, the invisible tool that perfectly rewrites your emotionally charged emails or text messages to smooth over conflicts. If we increasingly rely on algorithms to do our emotional heavy lifting, to perfectly calibrate our apologies and manage our interpersonal conflicts so we don't have to face the awkwardness ourselves, what happens to our own social muscles?
Right.
If we outsource our emotional labor to machines to avoid friction, we might eventually lose the capacity to forgive each other for simply being human.
That is a lot to think about. So tomorrow morning when you're standing outside that coffee shop, maybe delete the mobile order app. Go inside, stand in line, talk to the barista, and experience the friction. You might just remember what it feels like to be human